watching Hummelter Animation, and today we're talking about establishing shots. Stick around and learn when to use and when to just skip this important part of a storyboard. So exactly what is an established shot? An established shot is something that describes when, where and how things are. There's a lot of reasons why you would want to use an established shot. Mainly it's just to set the setting, where are we, what time of day is it a certain location that we're skipping to. One thing to bear in mind about established shots is that it is not a beatboard. Maybe you've seen my video about beatboards. If not, there's a link in the description. I'd suggest watching that first. In the beatboard, you're trying to get that one storytelling drawing. That might be a close-up, that might be something really specific that needs to be described. And established shots are something entirely different. The established shot builds on top of the beatboard. It builds upon what's already there. So if you have all of these story points, it's time to fill in where are we, when are we, and how are we. Everybody knows the cliche shot from all the TV series of the 90s and before that. From, say, Seinfeld, you've got Family Guy, The Simpsons, Beverly Hills is another one. Where exactly are we? You see that exterior shot of something and you just know where it is. Another benefit in a TV series is that usually you record a show in a set, and if you've just seen the exterior, it just gets a bit more believable. As an audience, you're more prone to just swallowing the fact that these two unemployed people or whatever can afford these giant apartments. So it adds to the believability of the place. The established shot sort of anchors the setting of where are you. Friends could take place anywhere, but iconically it takes place in Manhattan, I guess, somewhere in New York, and you just kind of buy into that. Now, TV series don't rely on established shots as much as they did in the 90s and before, but we still need them. You take a Game of Thrones, you're still switching from set to set. There's still a lot of then we're here and now we're there, and that makes a need for an established shot. Furthermore, it's a great place to show off some muscle. If you just had like the big expensive set shot that might just be a painting, as you go into the narrow streets, it's more believable. You've seen it, you know where you are in that context. Everything feels more expensive, so it's a great place to save some money by having one beautiful shot that just sets the tone for the rest of the sequence. So I don't really see established shots going anywhere, even if we don't rely on them as much as before. We discussed the Brachiosaurus scene from Jurassic Park. Funnily enough, that's not an established shot. The established shot in that scene is more of a reveal. Camera flips around. You see this whole view of the park as Hammond is saying, "Welcome to Jurassic Park." An interesting way to use an established shot, sort of like a reveal. Anyway, that's the where. If you want to talk about the when, it's the part in the script where you see it's nighttime, it's daytime. If you take a film like Harry Potter 3, there's what's it called? The Whomping Willow, that describes the seasons change. And it's a nice way to repeat the same established shot and thereby describing exactly when are you. You know then that a certain amount of time has passed, which might be helpful for your story. Describing that time has passed is a great way to use it. If you leave a character at one setting and then time has passed and you want to move that character to another setting, usually you'd put in an established shot. It's hard to know exactly what's going on without an established shot, but it's not impossible. And another fun example from the Harry Potter universe, which I'm currently watching all the films, there's a part in Harry Potter 6 where Harry is trying to put the squeeze on Professor Slughorn. And he's just visited his chambers, and then there's a cut in time without establishing it. The last shot is Harry looking disappointed, and then there's a knock on the door.
Yes?
They've got the bridge, which is just a sound effect, which is actually Harry again, returning to the same room, which is really interesting because usually, you'd have an intercutting scene, something so you don't have this awkward mashing up two sequences. But it actually works here. He knocks on the door and then he gets rejected again and he doesn't utter a word. He's just standing there. Then you cut back to another non-established shot of Ron sitting in the dorm under the influence of a love potion. And you have Harry revealing himself in the background, which is, a sort of nice touch. You get that before he was there, now he's here, so time must have passed. Anyways, Ron is under the influence of this potion and he needs help. Harry can't do it himself, so he brings him back to Slughorn. At this point, you don't even need an established shot because you've been there before. Once again, you've got the knock. Slughorn opens the peephole and sees once again Harry standing there. And there's a lot of time that's passed from the first scene to the final scene. And there's no established shots whatsoever in any of this. And it actually feels really clumsy. I've totally noticed it. But at this point, it's an hour and a half into the film. It's already painfully slow. Starting to overly establish transport and just come on, man, let's get on with it. So it makes sense to cut some corners and not use an established shot. I think the scriptwriter could have dealt with this a bit more nicely. Maybe it's also because there was a shot in there and then it got deleted or something and they didn't have the established shots. And there might be a ton of reasons. Sometimes stuff just ends up on the floor of the cutting room. If you spoon feed people transport, they're just going to get sick of it. You really don't want to put your transport scenes into these bite-sized chunks. So it's an editing exercise to just get rid of all of this stuff, and that includes sometimes the established shots. That's fine. We get it. You get it. So it's important to know where we are. It's important to know when we are, but it's also important to know how we are. Established shots are great cues for moods. Is it a cheerful mood? Is it a somber mood? Is it light? Is it gloomy? And so on and on and on. I would urge you to take a look at The Hudsucker Proxy, a Coen Brothers film from early on in their career. There's a pretty great opening in that. It's snowing and the camera is like trucking in and you end up on main character. He's standing on a ledge on top at a clock tower, considering to end his life and all. It doesn't get much more dramatic than that. With a narrative kind of foreshadowing a development, and they're just saying like, how did he get so high and why is he feeling so low, and everything in the visuals are playing up to that. That's a really great way to open your scene and understand how everybody is. And that's another aspect of establishing shots that you need to consider. I mean, if you don't consider how the characters are, you're basically missing an opportunity. Sure, it's important with the geographical locations, it's important with all of the, like what time of day it is, but there's more to storytelling than just that, that's all very basic information. Yeah, and it's a great opportunity to further develop and condense the story you're trying to tell. Another interesting opening is in The Dark Knight. Now, I think The Dark Knight has a lot of issues and I'd like to discuss it in a future video as well. But the opening is really, really nice. It's daytime, it's an urban setting, probably Gotham. You've got a helicopter ride, but you don't know exactly what's going on. You're just moving in. Is it going to be like an office scene? This wall of glass, that's a financial sector. Maybe it's an office scene. You don't know that. But as you zoom in, the glass just explodes. You cut to a clown rigging up a wire gun, and it just goes on from there. But that's just a great way of crushing your expectations. Utilize an established shot and break what people expect. The thing is, there's no right or wrong in doing these. Certainly you can go the sitcom route, establishing where and when and how we are, and then you move into the scene and everything plays out. You can have like a group shot or something and then move into each individual. That's totally fine, it's allowed. There's also a point in always remembering that you're telling a story, that we're trying to engage our audience. Just a thought out example. Say you have a prison break or something. Instead of having people running through a field, escaping from the police, why not have a close-up of things being shot to pieces or something, and then you cut to your established shot. Mix it up a bit. You don't have to go by any set order of events. Mix it up. And hey, then you're basically already boarding. Thank you so much for watching. I would really like to know your take on establishing shots. Do you know of any weird uses that everybody should know of? Any interesting ways to start a new sequence? Then let me and everybody else know in the comments below. Consider subscribing. Let's get better together.